Wrote one little piece of code and the world falls apart. This is virtual terrorism.
What?
It's crazy. First time I heard the concept of a fire sale, I actually thought it would be cool if anyone ever really did it. Just hit the reset button, melt the system just for fun.
Hey, it's not a system. It's a country. You're talking about people, all right? A whole country full of people. Sitting at home, alone, scared to death in their houses, all right? So if you're done with your little nostalgic moment, maybe you can think a little bit and help me catch these guys. Just help me. Just put yourself in their shoes.
Good morning, good morning. So, we're a little bit to cover. And I don't know how to approach it as I try and stay out of this really cold wind this morning. And I mean really cold wind. So, the international stage has turned with Trump being shot at by a patsy. And in Australia, Albo has realised the rhetoric that he's been pushing on purpose led towards this assassination attempt, because he's in cahoots with the same rainbow people that have been trying to undermine your own country. Your own country. So with this assassination attempt flooding the media, we're not going to discuss it here, but it's very pertinent to Albo and the referendum and trying to undermine you. So there's a severe lack of Israel news being pushed out right now. There's a severe lack of always was, always will be activism tantying going on right now. And there's a severe lack of anything Aboriginal even being spoken about, because they were used for Albo's agenda of division. If you divide a country in half and make it hate each other, you get to control them, don't you, Albo? Division, division, division. Let's put the blacks against the whites. Let's put the poor against the rich. Let's divide the country on purpose so that you, Albo, can manipulate the executive branches of government while they're all attacking each other. That's about the reality of what we see today. Now, do you want to make a difference? This is where you need to look at who you were before 1954. This is where you have to look at who you were before a nanny crown came in to administer your debts to the Zionists. The Zionists that controlled America. The Zionists that are no longer getting support around the world, especially in Australia, which is a good thing. A good thing. Who do you think kept you in debt slavery for the last 70 years? We could go to the Kiskanen case. We can look at Matthew Reason's statement submitted to the court. You could look at his statement in relation to what I said about Israel and the Pope. The Pope left. He called in all movable property and went back to the Vatican, and George Pell went back as the Vatican Bank. Who let Pell out of jail for what he did? There is no justice coming out of the executive branches of government, is there? They are a foreign military organised power taking money from rainbow people to push that rainbow communist ideology out across your country. And Albo and Lydia and the Aboriginal activists are directly responsible. Directly responsible. Always was, always will be treason, opening a back door to rainbow powers, Chinese powers, foreign powers to mine Aboriginal lands. Always was, always will be treason to the Constitution at hand. Now, to make a difference doesn't mean to go attacking everyone. To make a difference might mean growing up and building your strength together. Now, a lot of you don't realise that I travel a lot, and I spent a lot of my time up in far north Queensland. I just came back from the Cape. While I was in Thursday Island and Barmaga, I was introduced to the Anglican churches up there. And in that, we discovered that the Thursday Island church has a bell that it needs to put up in a bell tower. And we informed the church that we would take this project on and help them with the funds and the procedures to be able to get a bell tower from the mainland onto a barge to Thursday Island, and then finally erected and a bell tower risen. This is a project that has been slowly coming together, but there are certain people that have trampled their way in, and I need to speak up. Dua Kiskonen does not represent the Order of the Desert Flame. The Bell Tower project is managed by a body called the Most Noble Order of the Desert Flame. And we as men of the realm sought to help the realm by doing something good for a church. Now, segue into a art piece here. So I showed you that I purchased a nice wide format printer to do my artwork. And as a part of that, I have printed up this artwork here. It's a full ink, pigment ink coloured HDX Sure Colour ink on high-end rag papers produced by Arches Paper. This is an artwork piece that is a one-off. I'm not printing it again. And all the proceeds will go into the bell tower. Now, if you want to have a look and put some donations in yourself, belltowerproject.com. You can forward anything you like to administrator@belltowerproject.com, and I can add to the website. I can put up more information. I can share more information. So you can email me any information you have on that bell tower project. All the proceeds from this image here will go into the bell tower project. It's about $500. Got to take into consideration costs. So the profit will go into the bell tower project. So without teaching people the realm at which they are to defend, then the realm goes without defense. And when I say that Dua does not speak for the Most Noble Order of the Desert Flame, it could be questioned as to what the modus operandi is, trying to get everyone to participate at the shrine in Melbourne again. You are forgetting about your town. You are forgetting about the names on the cornerstone of the town, the cornerstone of your very own town. You're forgetting the congregation of the parish, all of the neighbours that live on the other lots of land on the other side of your fence. You're forgetting that you need a fence to call them a neighbour. Now I ask you one question, because I always got mocked asking this question. Where does the equator come from? And without it, Could you mark your fence line to have a neighbour next door? Could you? No, you couldn't. So maybe you need to look at a few things that would define the cornerstone of your town so that you could challenge your council instead of acting like a bunch of belligerents that want to drive their cars at 1,000,000 miles an hour with no respect for everyone else in the community, that want to push oath-taking which doesn't open the mind to the cornerstone in your town, and want to push you all to present yourselves at a war memorial in front of the police who will openly attack you. This is proven by Matthew Reason of Fixated Persons New South Wales already having committed that criminal offence by attacking a people at a war memorial, which is an international criminal offence that the state of New South Wales refused to deal with. And it's because of this rhetoric that goes around that doesn't allow you to organise for the cornerstone that is your very own town. So how do I join this most noble order? You don't. You get invited for the good works that you did for your realm. The good works will open the door to the rest of the men of the order putting your name forward to be a member. You'll get an invite if you do the right thing. That's how all the others became. It is from there that executive branch government is addressed. It is from there that a kingdom of people can stand up because they know that a knighthood order is their head and their voice. They know that we can speak up on their behalf. They know that we can hold defence in the realm. They know that we have the Bill of Rights 1688 as our core foundation of law, which allows us the right to bear arms. All Protestants have a right to bear arms. So you must return home to be able to do that, right? Police Commissioner? Police Commissioner? We are talking about the law here, of which you completely avoid when you're the one on the other end of it, committing war crimes and criminal offences against the Criminal Code 1995. And this is something we don't want to involve with. So if you see people driving at 150 kilometres an hour urging the police to pull them over, they don't represent us. We don't push that kind of ideology. We ask you to work together. You shall know them by their fruits, not by their egos. And when these people refuse to report in and act of their own volition, then it is 100% ego, because there are no fruits to the realm. So what we ask all of you to do is finally realise that you're being manipulated into belligerence on behalf of hidden powers, instead of being urged to unite for your towns and informing all your neighbours what went on in 1953-54 when they introduced the Flags Act 1954. What went on in 1936 when abdication of the throne in London occurred. How did a foreign head come in to the body that never went away? The body that is all of you, the people, being managed by a foreign head, Now, why would the Pope have been here for 75 years of peacekeeping and then go home? And why would rainbow people move in and start destabilising your entire country after that administration went home? And what would Zionist Israel have to do with that, given that it's falling to the wayside right now and likely to be exterminated by the Middle East? Lebanon is moving further into Israel as we speak, and a wider war is opening up, and Zionist Israel should be wiped off the map because they terrorised British Palestine in the night of the trains 1948 to create that Zionist state. They are the enemy of the British Empire. Why the fuck would we help them? Why the hell would we help them? You're looking at people like Avi Youmeni, child killer, joins the ADF and shoots Palestinian children. Why would we support them? They're terrorists that terrorised British Palestine in 1948. Now you look at Trump and what happened to Trump. And now you look at Albo and the panic mode, panic mode that Albo went into, realising that the people of this land could quite easily do that to him. Or more to the point, the enemy that he's manipulated in Zion might come along and use a patsy in the Australian population to do it for them. One might say MK Ultra, but then one might say the police manipulating someone into doing something instead of facing the consequences of the police actions. We'll charge you, or we'll let you go if you go and do this little job for us. And don't kid yourselves, United Nations inspectors came in to inspect the very facilities that those New South Wales police use to get that job done. So as the world shifts, what I'm asking all of you is to realise you've got a bunch of people who are housos manipulating the situation so that they don't have to be housos and they can take some sort of title without doing the hard yards and putting down the fruits to prove that title, to prove it. You shall know them by their fruits. And if their only fruits are Facebook, if their only fruits are, well, always was, always will be, if their only fruits are do as you're told, if their only fruits are copying and mimicking you, they have no fruits. They literally haven't been able to define these things of their own mind, which might say that they're still deluded, acting like a bunch of housos, thinking they can escape the law. Instead change it to the line of authority that it should be established in. You let a foreign power come into your land and manipulate your money supply called Zionists. You let a foreign power called the Pope come in to administer that debt. And then you saw a war machine shift that debt so that, who was it that said, they have too much money, we can't win? That was President Trump that said, they have too much money, we can't win. It's a war. And President Trump's back with his masters trying to win again. And the problem here is that it's at the world's expense. It's at the world's expense that foreign powers to all your countries are manipulating your countries, including the United States of America. You're not the de jure United States of America. You're being managed and manipulated by administrators. Just like Albo works for an administrator that is not the de jure executive branch of government in this country. Albo works for a foreign power. And you haven't worked this out yet. Albo works for a foreign power for you to all tanty like housos instead of become organised and do something for God. Do something for God. Now, this isn't easy to do, so I'm going to put some bank account details on the screen. You can donate directly to me, and I will continue doing the work that is required to demonstrate what elbow works for a change, to demonstrate why Pauline Hanson will never help you, to demonstrate why Malcolm Roberts needs to keep putting it on the parliamentary record so that later we can use that record against them. This is something that you all need to start realising. Housos won't fix your problem. You need good men that will speak for you in a legal capacity, not politics. Not politics. So throw some coin across, because that's what keeps us going. And then if you'd like to donate to a bell tower project, that is a totally separate account that is managed and administered by a veteran, an ex-soldier, and a couple of men are managing the books. Outside of that, there's this fancy picture for sale, and all the proceeds will go to the belltowerproject.com. So you can go here and donate directly to the project that is going to be going ahead in the Anglican Church in Thursday Island. Or alternatively, you can donate directly to me so that I can continue going. Otherwise, look at your town. Stop trying to go to the shrine in Melbourne and be some sort of hero group that has no fruits. I told you for years to go to the Chamber of Commerce. I told you for years to join the RSL, the CWA. You could actually go and join Rotary, Apex, Lions Club. These are all social networks that are there to help your town. You could fundraise for certain things that would get built in your town. You could influence the council as the body of people that you are, instead of turning around and having to be ratepayers associations filled with losers that try to do American pseudo-lawtard and get things wrong because they have no idea about a crown. Zero idea. You could be a hero and drive around with no number plates on and try and escape the law and believe that you're not in a country, and you could go and do that and get into trouble and then eventually go to jail like several people have done in the past. And you could go on TikTok and push all of that stuff and be the hero and ego until you go to jail, and then silence, right? Silence. And then you could say, wah, they silenced me, but they didn't. You broke the law. Well, I could say they silenced me. I was sent to jail for recording in a courtroom. I'm the only man in history on the whole entire planet to have been sent to jail for recording his own court matters, because if you record your own court matters, they can't manipulate the transcript and change it, can they? Because you've got a copy of it. And they can't have that. They can't have that. They need full control of the record so they can change it post-fact. So you can try all of these things, you'll get into trouble. You're not concentrating on the people that you are and the neighbours that you are with the fence line in the middle. And you're not defining what God gave you a fence line. And you're not defining what town that God established. Right? And as townsfolk, are you going to allow a foreign body to come and manipulate your council? Oh, we're going to make a claim on all the land because we're Aboriginals. We now own the block of land underneath your feet because you'll own nothing, remember? You forgot your crown, you forgot your constitution, you forgot your gods that gave you that fence line in the first place. Instead, you chose to drive 150 kilometres an hour and risk killing someone on the highway for your own ego. for your own ego. So I'm asking all of you not to follow this stupid shit. It's going to get you in trouble. And the people that are pushing it on TikTok and Facebook and all of your social media, I want you to ask yourself, why would they do that? Why would they drive their car at 150 kilometers an hour, put it on TikTok to urge you all to do the same? And then ask Jay what it was like killing someone on the highway at 110 kilometers an hour in an accident that wasn't his fault. The police acknowledged it wasn't his fault. You put yourself at risk of doing exactly the same thing. And when you get scrutinized for not having that registration or that license after you kill someone on the road, what do you think's going to happen? The Bible said, render unto God what was God's, render unto Caesar what was Caesar's. It's now time to realize what was God's was formed in a foundation stone in your very own town that set your very own fence line into play. Without that fence line, without that equator, what's east? Please tell me. I'm waiting for you to figure these things out instead of playing this goddamn stupid legal game all the time. You don't unite. You're individual heroes. And now you have a chance to do something good for other people that will bring you together as a people. belltowerproject.com. Go and donate for a bell tower project. Go and put some designs together and submit them so that we have many designs on which to be able to draw from to submit to the historical part of the Anglican Church. You have opportunities right now and they're offered to you. And if you choose to keep going this belligerent manner and then following people because you have a loyalty to them and not your realm, you'll lose. And all one can say in the long run is, I told you so. So, as we try and move forward, we recognize that there are people among you that are rogue, choosing to do things of their own volition without concern for what a head is to a body. And when you can't define the actual body that you are as a people, manipulated by a foreign head, then what do you do? And if you can't teach others about the foundations that exist in your own town, and you instead insist on protesting and gathering people together in large groups without teaching them who they are, what kind of outcome do you expect from it? Do you expect some sort of loyalty to a realm if they can't see the realm? Do you expect some sort of loyalty to a body of people when all they see is a name? They're not going to believe in one man when it's up to them to stand united for that realm. That one man that defined it at law only has the ability to speak for his people. And if you keep going the way you are, disregarding the foundation stones to your own block of land, how are you a people? That fence line there was defined somehow, making you neighbours to each other. Love thy neighbour requires you to have a fence line to call that a neighbourhood. A neighbourhood. Ooh, does that mean there's lots of fences dividing you all apart into your own lots of land? And would Albo be attacking those lots of land continuously using foreign monetary supplies and retail banks? What is the Reserve Bank and its interest rate? Is it borrowed money that you're paying back with interest? Would you have put your land up as hock for that borrowing? And as we said earlier, the New South Wales Police defined this on this Kiskonen case, that I spoke these words very openly, that Zionism was manipulating your country and WEF partners were going to war against Zionists and the Pope was involved. Here it is in black and white. Give you a chance to read that and you'll see. I made these statements going back as far as 2012. That's 12 years ago. That I warned you all this was coming. I even warned the Governor-General, the Attorney-General, the Prime Minister, the Solicitor-General. I even warned you politicians. And instead of listening to what was going on, all they could see was their politics with their blinkers on. They can't see outside of their blinkers. They've got portfolios to work on. See, if it's not in the portfolio, Pauline Hanson doesn't need to address it. She's dealing with portfolios issued to her. She's an oversight in the Senate. She's overseeing portfolios given to the House of Representatives to represent the Centrelink portfolio, the Defence portfolio, the Roads Management and Maintenance portfolio, the Electricity Grids portfolio, the Water Management portfolio, and of course, Albo's immigration, to divide your country more, to make it more disloyal so that money men can keep controlling your land through your land titles. Now, a lot of people berated me over time, but you never considered something, did you? I worked in a council. I was the IT officer for that council. I installed all the software and all the computers that held the data for that council. What does a council do? And in that, I bet you don't know. They manage your land from a foreign line of authority that came here after the abdication of a throne, installed new flags, conned you into a new head, 75 years of peacekeeping, right? And you still can't work out it's a foreign head in the executive branches of government using the executive to call upon a referendum to undermine you from your own constitution. A serious act of treason on Albanese's behalf. And none of you has stood up and spoken it because you're illiterate to what it all means. You run around thinking someone's going to save you because you took an oath and you fail your own town and country. God, King, and country. You fail your own town to follow the leader because some bogans decided that they didn't want to play society and wanted to lead you like lambs to the slaughter instead of leading you home to the foundation stone in your very own town all across this country. So you could stand up and say, always was Christian town, always was a Christian constitution. Always was a Christian commonwealth, being divided by Islam, being divided by cultures that don't form the foundations of what you as a people built over decades. They've allowed immigration in to undermine you. Elbow is directly undermining you with Aboriginal activists. And those activists are too dumb to realise they're opening the door to that immigration. Now, all you Aborigines out there, Elbow just let more people in than your entire population in the last 2 years. Albanese let more immigrants in than the entire Aboriginal population in the last 2 years. Always was, always will be, being conned by federal executive branches of government to undermine the very land under your feet for mining interests. For mining interests. And that's very evident today, given that the Aborigines have no voice. Albo gave it to the mining interests on Aboriginal land. That's why he wanted it all under Aboriginal title, so he could open the door to more usufruct, more raping of your lands for monetary gain to pay off fraudulent monetary borrowings. Frydenberg put you in $1 trillion debt, telling you that your children will be debt slaves until the year 2080, and you sat on your hands and accepted it. Accepted it. You didn't say a fucking word otherwise, did you? You sat on your hands complaining that Liberal and Labor and One Nation and all the others screwed you. Didn't do a thing for your country. Opened the door to immigration, mining and more usufruct. Let those foreign banks rape you and your soil and turn your cops into Nazis. They'll just keep pulling you over and stinging you with bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and fines. What did we discuss before? $1,200 for a seatbelt in Queensland. $1,200 to let a policy enforcer, a public servant into your private property to put a burden of warfare on you called a financial burden because Frydenberg put your children in financial debt for 100 years. 100 years. That's 4 generations of your children being enslaved to Elbow, to Morrison, going back to Abbott signing you off to the enterprise bargaining agreements. And that Setka stuff blew up, didn't it? Didn't it find out that he was working with underworld crime figures? Now I'm asking the government to go and look at Tony Abbott and the enterprise bargaining agreements and that piece of shit Michael Lawler that conned the entire country and then took $1 million for claiming mental health at Fair Work Australia while I was in Fair Work Australia claiming the exact same thing against the Northern Territory government. Michael Lawler, you're a scumbag. And Tony Abbott, you should be sent to jail. You should be sent to jail, you papist piece of scum. Scum! Tony Abbott, the scumbag. Isn't that right, Peter Credlin? You worked for that scumbag. You worked for those papists. You manipulated that Zionism, as demonstrated here by a police statement, 2019. Was I wrong? Was I wrong? No, I wasn't, was I? I was right the whole time. And you just mocked me for your own gain. Always was, always will be. Aboriginal activism trying to undermine Australians that put down a constitution and all those fence lines in the first place. Then you support Zionists and papists to undermine your own Aboriginal sovereignty by allowing mining interests in the door so you could get a bit of coin at the expense of your sovereignty in the next 50 years. Golf clap to you. Well done. Opening the door to foreign interests so they could screw our country over more. Allowing immigration in larger than the Aboriginal population. Never was, never will be. It's owned by Albo's money men, isn't it? It's what that Bar Betty called bureaucrats. The country isn't run by the parliament, Bar Betty said. The country's run by bureaucrats. And then Mr. Zion says, oh, we should kick Jack Black out. No, let the insurance companies pull his insurance. And then he closes all his shows down because he's got no insurance. The banks did it all for you. Because Jack Black didn't want to play the game. The war game. The war game between all the hidden sides while God defined the realm that was being managed by all these other sides. Managed. Well known about. I mean, when you know that the country's going to collapse financially and you step forward from your job inside a council and start warning everyone what they're about to face and they mock you and then 15 years later, boom, it happens and you all get locked down and jibby-jabbied with a poison and manipulated and controlled by an executive branch of government, and then they try and undermine the very blessing of Almighty God in your constitution, try and give it to the Aborigines so they can open the door to more mining interests for money, men, like BlackRock. You know, like that advertisement that shooter was in. You know, like those police that stepped down and didn't do anything against someone holding a gun. Sounds like a setup from BlackRock, doesn't it? Sounds like a setup from the same very people that run Albo's show. Because you all sit on your hands. Yeah, put my children in debt slavery. What do I care? She'll be right, mate. I'll own nothing. I'll be happy with you owning nothing. I'll hand my children nothing. And we've been fighting for 15 years, 20 years, trying to make you wake up to the fact that they've been doing this to you, and now you're at the end throes of it, where they're about to take it all from you because you can't afford it. That's what Frydenberg did. He stole your future and gave it to a bank and said, these will be your slaves until 2080, 2100. I've enlisted them all into international debt slavery for you. That's what Frydenberg did. And Albo is manipulating all you slaves so you pay those debts. You haven't figured this out yet. Totally haven't figured this out yet while you run around like a bunch of housos. While you run around like a bunch of friggin' housos. Incompetent, incapable, don't know anything about books, don't know anything about great seals, don't know anything about writing a letter. It's embarrassing for you to keep pushing a narrative for your own agenda at the expense of your own country. Because you can't even write a letter. Pretty sad, isn't it? Pretty sad that a bunch of housos think they can run a business called a country, which has electricity grids, water grids, food, agriculture, fisheries, mining. You look at oil and batteries and look at what's going on when you ran out of money and no one wants to sell you any fuel anymore. The only alternative is to turn to a battery because Frydenberg sold you out. Scott Morrison sold you out. Don't forget ScoMo was in power when the jibby-jabby came and the lockdowns came and they locked you in your own homes like your own prison cells. You are not a free people. Your children belong to the state. That's why they come and take them. It's what's going on in London right now, in Leeds. There's a massive riot going on because the state decided to come into someone's house and claim their children as the state's children. And all of Leeds went, no, 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 enough is enough. Stop stealing our children. Stop manipulating our children into debt slavery to play your Zionist papist slavery game. We're not Zion. We're not papists. We're Australians. And we don't have to stand up in this world game like Albo wants us to. You need to start looking at your town and why it's in debt and why they impact your block of land and why they threaten you to take your land off you and why they keep pushing excessive fines on you from the police to burden your families even further so you can't pay your mortgages. And there you look at the Reserve Bank increasing rates multiple times to the point where you're paying twice as much for your mortgage. It's all manipulated. It's all created so you will remain slaves to them because you never figured it out. That Reserve Bank currency is your slavery. So I'm asking you now to recognise what a bunch of housos are and how they aren't going to help you. They don't know about business or contracts, great seals. They don't know about registries, secretaries. They don't know what a chairperson does to a council. They turn things into leadership and command they don't have. They don't look at the foundations put down under the blessing of Almighty God while they go scrambling to try and overrule that Almighty God. You all need to look now. This comes down to you and your town and your neighbours. This comes down to your CWA, your RSL, your council. This comes down to land management occurring on behalf of banks inside your council. And I'll repeat, I used to work in a council as an IT officer, managing and running an entire server room. An entire server room. You can mock that all you like, but the bottom line fact there is that they're the ones impacting your land titles. They're the ones interacting with a financial monetary machine from a foreign interest. Your mayor is under the thumb of a corporate side of council. This is why you no longer have scouts that are viable to defend your local community, because that mayor severed that link into your town's defences because a bank doesn't need you to defend what it controls. It uses police, policy enforcers to put financial burdens on you, which are then upheld by corrupt magistrates like David Halpin of Lismore Court in New South Wales, one of the most corrupt magistrates in this country. David Halpin, con artist that went on the media to try and trick you into believing their sovereign citizen bullshit. David Halpin that goes on to the media to manipulate your pseudo-American legal garbage to try and get you to do that instead of look at the Crown and the corrupt position that David Halpin, magistrate of Lismore Court, retired magistrate at that, retired magistrate who went to university and then was employed by Albo's ABC to be an actor instead of a legal professional, therefore putting into disrepute every New South Wales magistrate in the whole state of New South Wales. And this corruption in the magistrates' court has to end. Now, I brought this up in the District Court of Queensland, that you have corruption going on in your magistrates' court. You have corruption going on in your very police forces. And you sit on your hands all the time. You never gather the brains together to step up against a machine. You let bogans run around with pseudo-American legal crap thinking they can get away from the police and the police will just put them in jail. Put them in jail. Like they did when they put me in jail without even finishing my court matters. Isn't that right, criminal David Halpin? And did I go away? No, because what I speak is the absolute truth and no one has been able to rebut it. No Aboriginal activist has been able to rebut it. No politician's been able to rebut it. No magistrate's been able to rebut it while they continue with their criminal actions. The AFP haven't been able to rebut it while they ignore the Criminal Code 1995 and fail miserably to arrest those that have broken those criminal codes, like Albanese trying to undermine your constitution with a referendum. It's treason. And do you think the AFP are going to defend your country? Or are they swept up in all of that criminal activity with Sitka? Oh, well, of course they are. They're a criminal gang in your country, undermining your country with enterprise bargain agreements and unions and land titles and building and construction on those land titles. One could say that the fraud started by giving a building and construction company a land title on which to build a concrete monstrosity in the first place. More concrete for Queensland, Pauline. More concrete for Queensland. Oh, I saw another bay that got concreted down to the shoreline again. New car park for some Queensland town on the shoreline. I think it was Harvey Bay there, Pauline. More concrete for Harvey Bay. Need to concrete all the rocks down the shoreline. It's a danger to all the people that live there. Turn their place into a prison-looking place for their safety, for road safety, for people's safety. Government nanny needs to look after children for their safety. Isn't that right, Pauline? Isn't that right, Pauline? You do nothing, Pauline. You're incapable of doing anything, Pauline. And it's clearly been pointed out to everybody now. You took an oath to a foreign power that is not in line of authority to the very Constitution under the blessing of Almighty God. Pauline, is that treason or is that treachery? You serve banking interests instead of the country. God, king and country, Pauline. Or is it bank, slave master and servant? You're their servant, aren't you, Pauline? You're their servant, taking oaths to foreign lines of authority in the actual Constitution. And now the people are starting to wake up, given what's going on worldwide. Zionists want their slavery back, and West partners want to enslave instead. And God said, don't get involved with these people. Don't get involved with these people. Don't take their credit, because they'll use that and their interest rates to undermine you for 100 years. Put your children into debt slavery. God told you, Don't play with these people. Don't take their handouts. They will screw you in the long run, like Israel did. Like the Pope did. Right? And now you let the Pope get away with it? You let George Pell leave the country instead of jailing him until he died for what he did. And you allow that to happen inside the Parliament, Pauline. 27 pedophiles hidden amongst your very own colleagues, Pauline. Hidden amongst your very own colleagues, Pauline. More concrete for Queensland, please. More cocaine for council, please. More cocaine for politicians, please, Pauline. You allowed this to occur while operating for foreign powers in our land, Pauline, and we're watching a world game play out while Zionists try to take the world back while other interests try and assassinate their leader of the slave world, President Trump, the Zionist. Where's the Christian in all of this? Constituting a Christian Commonwealth. Go and look that document up, Pauline. It's part of the judicial process, Pauline. Go look that document up. Constituting a Christian Commonwealth. And you participate in a government that seeks to undermine that Commonwealth with a referendum and the bleeding heart Aboriginal activists. When do those Aboriginal activists realise they just got used? Because we don't see them in the media anymore. We don't see that Zionist papist crap on YouTube anymore. It doesn't come up on the homepage anymore. Does that mean someone else is in command of the telecommunications network now, Pauline? This is where people are starting to wake up to the fact that they've been mind manipulated and played by people like you, Pauline. Played by people like you that know exactly what's going on because they put you in jail, remember, Pauline? You know what the inside of a jail cell looks like, except you didn't go there for recording in a courtroom, did you, Pauline? You went there because some manipulative executive branch didn't want you to participate in their branch of politics. So they manipulated you into a crime and then tried to silence you. Do you have something to do with those unions, Pauline? I bet you do. Do you have something to do with all those land titles, Pauline? I bet you do. And then the people start to realise you never served them. One Nation was the con lie. It's not One Nation, is it, Pauline? It's a foreign executive branch controlled government under some foreign executive branch. Got nothing to do with the line of authority established in the Constitution because you're a foreign administrator, Pauline. A foreign administrator administering portfolios on behalf of banking interests that lent you all the money so that you could continue on with your false economy. False economy. False economy. What we could call a fraud. Administrative fraud, Pauline. Putting 4 generations of people into debt slavery. Administrative fraud, Pauline. An actual criminal offence of putting people into debt slavery for generations. And you're going to see all these people wake up to what you've done, Pauline, with your con One Nation. It's not One Nation. It's a political party driven to separate you from the Liberals and the Labours and all the other parties. So it's not One Nation, is it, Pauline? It's not the United Kingdom of Australia as established by your Anzac 1919. It's not the sovereignty established under Imperial Conference 1926, is it, Pauline? Interesting that, isn't it, Pauline? That you're finally being shown for what you are. Liars! Liars. Thieves. Con artists. People defrauding the country out of its wealth. People enslaving the people in the country for generations. People dividing the loyalty of the country with immigration to continue that slavery. Let's bomb someone's homeland and offer them immigration into our slavery. Because that's what you've done all across the world, Albo. All across the fucking world have you done this, Albo. Bombed their homelands, invited them into your countries to treat them as your debt slaves, to keep your debt slavery going. To keep your debt slavery going. And all it is WEF partners versus Zionism at the expense of the entire planet. At the expense of the entire planet. Because we watched King Charles III open Parliament and speak the socialist words of a socialist government in total disregard of the blessing of Almighty God. Isn't that right, Charlie boy? You disregarded the realm for the bankers and the money men. Didn't you? You disregarded the realm for your rainbow money men. For your rainbow Nazi world money men that are going to go and do to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland exactly what they did to Germany in 1944. You allowed that to occur, Charlie boy. You recognise Zionism in your realm and you allow a foreign monetary power to remove Zionism at the expense of England. Look at London right now, Charlie boy. What a disgrace that you have allowed, through your military, to allow this to occur. Through your military. You allowed this to occur with your woke Governor Generals, your woke representatives across your different territories, and it's very obvious that you're not in command. It's very obvious that you've allowed banking powers to manipulate what was formerly the British Empire in total disregard for what those Anzac actually did in Beersheba. You're a disgrace, Charlie boy, a total disgrace to God, King and country. To God, King and country. And to everyone else, I think you're starting to realise now, you acting like a bunch of bogans is not going to fix what is one of the biggest problems that you as a people have ever faced in the last 400 years. It's time to realise it, band together and start attacking it with words, with criminal accusations, with accusations of fraud, with accusations of administrative fraud, defrauding the people, undermining the people on behalf of foreign interests is treason. And it's up to you to now realise this stuff. It's up to you to start adding two and two together, that you've been played, that Aboriginals got used in that play. It's time to realise, isn't it?
Some of you know I'd usually come down and say hi to all of you. They'd tell me there's a storm coming in. Is that right? Is that still the deal? That's the truth. Now, don't make a lie. As that scene in the John Wayne movie, don't make me a dog-faced lion pony soldier. All right, well, I tell you what. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask the White House photographer to come up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand. I usually shake everybody's hand. But I'm going to stand in front of each section. No, I really mean it. And if you can see the camera, they can see you. And it's the least consequential part of this whole meeting for you. I promise. All right? God save the Queen, man.
So as we close off, you can see that the world has changed. You can see that everything that was spoken over the last decade has come to fruition. You can see that these politicians ignore me. you can see that the state and everyone else has a hard time rebutting what I put down on the record. You can see that it's up to you as a people to recognize what's going on your very own block of land, in your very own council. It's up to you to realize that you're all renting because Albo doesn't want you to own a home. It's up to you now to realize that you're in this predicament because people like Pauline Hanson created the predicament you're in, because you refused to recognize who they were post-1954, post-1967, post-1973, and the removal of your line of authority in which Gough Whitlam actually sat before he was removed. So you can see that the only way that we can keep going is with your support. So bank accounts here. It would be greatly appreciative if you did support the future of your country and the future of what could be defined as a God-given right. A God-given right that Albo can't step on, that the police can't step on, because it's the law. The law. Now, you're going to come across a bunch of manipulation on Facebook, on social media, and it'll be the police manipulating you into believing the bullshit. It'll be people like Rob Sudi lying to you, manipulating you into using American pseudo-legal garbage so his police can impact you. They have set this situation up so that they follow you on social media, they get you to promote your stuff on social media, they follow you in the real world, and then they try and impact you, dragging you before courtrooms in the real world. That's what the police are. And it's time to start to realize this. You are being manipulated by the police on Facebook because you don't know who you're talking to. You're being manipulated by people like Rob Sudi, who defame people's character online without repercussion because he works for the police. And you still haven't figured this out yet, so many years later. You've allowed Aboriginal activism to tanty its way through your streets because it knows that you're going to get emotionally responsive to it instead of stand united as a people and deny it. Deny it. You would allow a foreign power that came into your land specifically to manipulate you out of your land to do that? And you would help them to do that? Undermine your very own country on their behalf? You'd allow that to happen, would you? So, as we come to the end of this video, there's a bell tower project that you could participate in, and we need your donations to keep going. And that's the bottom line here. You're expecting someone to do this out of their own pocket continuously for decades is kind of demonstrative of the fact that you don't want your realm back, because we're not here to play politics. We're here with the law. These people are war criminals. These people are heinous international war criminals, as demonstrated by the Brereton report. There are evil people in command that escape responsibility for war crimes. Serious international heinous offences, including murder. including murder. You've allowed this government to get away with murdering your countrymen, let alone destabilising your land. You've allowed them to get away with so many things while you tanty and argue like children and housos amongst each other. And this stops because I don't want to deal with a bunch of housos. They're the kinds of people that cause a country a problem. They're not the kinds of people that fix a country's problems. These are the kinds of people that are dependent on the state. And they haven't realised this fact. So if you want to move forward, it's time to start realising I didn't come from a bogan world. I came from a council where I did a job and I found out things that you should know, that you and your land title should know. But instead, a circus evolved around it. And you disregarded the very thing you were supposed to protect, that fence line.